Yeah. Yay. I'm gonna go look. There it is, live for a minute and 17 seconds. 3 people watching. 4 people watching. Done. I'm excited. Let's do it. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first Road to Eleusis panel. Yay! We're so excited to have you here. I am Brenna Grace. I am the festival director for this year's Spring Mysteries Festival. And I am so excited to help moderate these panels with our many, many vessels, votaries, and votives, and all of the people who have held the deities and have experienced their messages. I cannot wait to get started. So, before we do, I want to do a quick little what are votives, what are vessels, what are votaries. So, votives are they are terms for those priests, priestesses, priestesses who have held the deities in the past and or the present. A votary is the head of the temple. So this is someone who held the deity at Spring Mysteries and really connected with that person, with that deity, and just emulated them so well and really got the message. And others look to them for guidance on working with that deity. So the votary of our Temple of Hestia is our wonderful Phoenix Silver Star, who is currently out of the country, can't be here, no worries. And then we have our vessel, which a vessel is the current priestess of the deity who is holding this. So this year, Namir Laveau is our vessel of Hestia. We are so grateful that she is holding her. And I mean, look at her. She's emanating all the Hestia vibes. And then we have votives, who are previous vessels who have held Hestia within Spring Mysteries, and they are also included in the temple. So, Namir and I today, we're going to start talking about Hestia, all the different things. We have a couple of, topics lined up, but we want to hear from you. We want to know what questions you have for Hestia. And now remember, this is not a time when they're asking for blessings from the deity because we're talking as priestesses, Nim and I. So you want to ask, like, what's Hestia's favorite food? Things like that, right? So, or how can I best worship Hestia? What can I put on their altar to connect with them? All that jazz. So let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce Namir Laveau, our vessel of Hestia this year. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. It is a honor and a pleasure to be in the service of the goddess, period. And I'm particularly enjoying working with the aspect of Hestia for the mysteries and this year.
I am so excited to have you here. So, to get started, I would like to ask, what has been the most surprising thing you found happen or something that just took you aback when you realized that it was a Hestia influence within your life?
Well, what was really interesting to me is how much I was already working with Hestia before I was called into this service. I've always had her in my home for a long time, but I didn't like actively know how much influence she was having on me. And I'm finding it very surprising and not surprising, because when you start looking at all of Goddess's influence in your life, you go, of course she was here the whole time. I've been going through a personal journey with my own personal temple that is my home, but especially the temple that is my body. This, our bodies are our homes, and that is a part of the Hestia worship as well. And I've already come so far, and a lot of that credit has to go to the goddess's support of me. And I'm learning that how much of it is of Hestia. The other piece is, and also to the chat, like make sure you guys can hear me okay, and that you can hear everything's going fine. I can adjust things as we go.
Yes,
The other thing that I find very fascinating is how many people are actively working with Hestia every single day. I feel like they're just popping up around me. I'm not like hardcore, just like going door to door being like, have you heard about the good, word of the Lady Hestia today? I'm finding, even without me prompting, I'm finding all these new people that I've never talked to before who just come out and say, yep, I'm updating my Hestia altar today. I'm working on my home, bringing in that Hestia energy. And I had to go and ask the other like past votives of Hestia, and I've asked other priesthood members of the other temples. I was like, do they just start sprouting up around you like daisies, the people that are working with your deity? Yes, they do. And that's been really surprising, and also so much fun and energizing to see how active the worship of the goddess is. I mean, I work with the goddess all day long. I work in her community all day long. But being devoted, hi Dusty, to specifically to Hestia for this year, it's like a beacon of energy, and I love all the warmth and radiance that's being reflected back at me of those already working with Hestia.
that is awesome. And you all should also know that this is Namir's first time on Spring Mysteries cast. She was on Hecate's Sickle cast this last October, November, but this is her first time on Sickle, so she's getting a lot of new lessons. Being on cast for your first time, we say that there are two big initiations at Spring Mysteries. There's the lesser mysteries and the greater mysteries. But being on cast is a whole other level of mysteries itself, and gives you even more lessons, opens your eyes up to so many new things. So not only is she experiencing the lessons of Hestia for the, deeply for the first time, but also the whole of the next level of Spring Mysteries for the first time too. So that must feel crazy.
It is. Well, it's interesting that you bring that up. So, yep, I was on Hecate's Sickle for the last 2 years, and both were really intense energies. I held Desire, which is like an archetype energy, and then I held Morgane, or Morgan Le Fay, at this last one, and those are intense energies. One is very sensual, rooted, very like raw energy, and Morgane is so mythical and magical, and she's just the witch, right? And so I thought that I was like, oh, I can handle intense energy. And then you're at your first rehearsal for the mysteries, and it is a completely different energy. The magnitude of it just overwhelms, and I pass out every time after rehearsal for like hours just to recharge. It's really good, but it is a lot.
Oh, I mean, as festival director, I don't do much in rehearsals. I take notes and, work, witness, and make sure that everything's running smoothly. And if there's something I can help with, I do. But I also pass out every time. The energy is insane.
Well,
and
yeah.
Well, and it's fascinating to look at the end, like, because this festival, again, it's from 3,000 years ago, and we knowingly / unknowingly picked it up and began to carry it again. Like when the ATC started doing Spring Mysteries back in 1985, we were doing something that we felt called to do, and it seemed like a great idea, and it was fun, so we kept going. And it turns out that Demeter needed these mysteries now more than ever to connect with her people. And after 30 years of running this festival, it finally hit us that we were like, oh, this is really intense. Like, we're doing works of the ancients and working with the same energies, and that makes it really powerful.
Absolutely. And it went for over 2,000 years, and so I think about all of our ancestors that experienced it and how that energy's been dormant and safe in our like spiritual line until it could be rebirthed into this modern world. And we're really just at the like we're like a zygote of the mysteries again.
Yeah,
And I'm so excited for the next 2,000 plus years of it and what it's going to transform into.
right. Same. Okay, so back to Hestia. Um, so we all want to know, what is Hestia's favorite food to eat and cook?
Anything that she can share. Hestia is about sharing that abundance. She puts her love and her energy into the food. We know that she's in our homes helping us cook every day, but if you think about the archetype mythology of Hestia, she is serving the other gods and goddesses around her, her brothers, her sisters, her parents, her nieces, her nephews, everybody, feeding them, hydrating them. So she enjoys cooking and sharing anything that she can give in abundance to help the gods and goddesses around her and in our lives, ourselves and our loved ones. I'm finding that she really enjoys the fresh food, the warm food, anything that gives energy to the body and the spirit. And if you are cooking with joy and with the intention to share, it is insta blessed by Hestia.
That is awesome. So basically, any baked goods, because you can share those, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, really, really anything that you can cook in your kitchen. She wants us to enjoy the kitchen again. Our kitchen is our hearth in our house. It is the heart of the house. It is where families gather. It is where you maintain your energy throughout the day. And our modern world has taken us farther and farther away from the kitchen, where cooking has become a chore for some, something dreaded, or even that you have to be an extremely talented chef or cook to be worthy of being in your kitchen. And a lot of us, resort to DoorDash and meal delivery and all those things, which can be a really great convenience, and you do need to eat. But Hestia wants you to enjoy being in the heart of your home again and pumping that energy that is the heart by using the things around you, whether it be just making toast or creating an elaborate meal.
That's awesome. And that is so true. I know I grew up every night we all sat down for dinner together, my whole family. We'd sit down for dinner and we'd do it, we'd make time. It would be after my swim practice, after my sister's dive practice. Like, we'd all sit there, talk about our days together. And I love this feeling of getting the heart of the home back, sparking that life back into it, into the fire.
Well, and we all can get anxiety about the mundane, and we can accidentally use the magical to escape. But what I think is important is to bring those things back together and to make the mundane sacred. So when you enter into your kitchen, I really want you to take a moment and be grateful that you have a kitchen to be in, that you have, something to cook, that you are able to enjoy your body cooking, that hopefully you'll be able to share it with others. And even if a lot of us live alone as well, share it with yourself. Like, tap into all the parts of you and nourish yourself, and enjoy being in there. Or even if it's you're folding laundry, make it sacred. Like, sacredly enjoy your clothes, take care of them, put them away. Sacredly find something in your space to declutter in any day. I think that we all are constantly trying to find the balance in our lives. And a lot of that balance starts at the foundation that is our homes. And that's some of the stuff that Hestia's also been gently sharing with me, because I'm one that can be easily overwhelmed by clutter and just the busyness of life. And it is a gentle reminder from Goddess to step back, take a deep breath, and bring that sacred magic into the mundane of it so that it is pleasurable for you. It is sacred, it is enjoyable, and you're much more likely to get so much more out of it.
So true. How does Hestia feel about Marie Kondo? Curious.
Hestia loves the general movement of people thinking outside of the box on how to organize their home and their space. And many of us find comfort in clearing away what no longer serves us. And I think that really at the base of that, Marie Kondo's concept is releasing, being grateful for something that was in your life, but then letting it go when it no longer serves you. There's extremes of everything, so I certainly don't recommend just clean sweeping everything, but really take a second to look around you at the things that are actively around you all through the day, especially for those of us that are home throughout the day, either working from home or they're full-time, parents at home or anything like that, or even those of us that are just existing in and out of our homes. We gather things throughout the whole year, every single day, but we don't take a lot of time to stop and reflect on what's actually around us and if it's adding to our energy or if it's depleting our energy. And if it's depleting our energy, then it's time to be grateful for the purpose it served and let it go. So in that way, I believe that Hestia is very pro Marie Kondo, at least in thinking outside of the box.
That's awesome. So, what kinds of things, okay, hold on, rephrase. If someone were to come to Hestia during Spring Mysteries, what kind of blessings would they benefit from asking for from Hestia?
One of the really wonderful things that I'm learning about Hestia is that she is a solid fire. She is a steady fire. And her wisdom comes from maintaining that fire. Like her superpower is maintenance, whatever it be. Maintaining the body, maintaining the home, maintaining the spirit, maintaining your loved ones. And when you come to Spring Mysteries, you can bring what is difficult to maintain in your life, and she can help give you guidance to bless the path that you're working on, to love you and build you up for all of the work you are already doing. One thing that we don't give ourselves enough credit for is the work that we're already doing. We're constantly thinking that we are way behind. And Hestia is a steady fire. You slowly add wood to the fire. You don't need a blazing fire to be worthy. You just need to continuously just add a little piece at a time. And I think that that's a lot of what she ends up sharing and giving blessings for. And she's really looking forward to having that personal one-on-one time and that larger sacred time with you at the mysteries.
That is awesome. Thank you. Okay. I have never personally worked with Hestia deeply before, and so, because we are friends, I've gotten to see these sides of Hestia that I've never gotten to see before. And your Hestia's energy is seeping into my life too. I have been very much rearranging my home, looking at things, saying, does this serve me? Do I love this? Does it help me? So you are right. Hestia's energy is just a solid flame.
Yeah.
She's gonna keep going. And it's fascinating to see that level of energy that I wish I had.
Well, you walk into a house and it's warm and you don't think about why it's warm until it's freezing and you're like, "Oh gosh, where did the warmth go?" It's just it's a constant, right? And then you realize that there's an imbalance in the home somewhere where you need to turn on the fireplace or turn up the heat or do something else or,
Close the window.
Or close the window. And I think Hestia's like that too, except her warmth never runs out, and you can always tap into it because, we tend to think about goddess outside of ourselves, but we have to realize that goddess is housed within us. Like we are God and goddess; they're in us. But specifically with Hestia, she's your heart fire, and so when you aren't feeling the warmth outside of you, you have to remember that your heart is still beating strong, and you are still warm in your body, and that is goddess's constant love just pumping inside of you, and you can tap into it whenever you want. I did just want to give a shout out to the comments. We do see them. They're building us up. We love it. If you have any questions that you would like to ask of our temple, or any thoughts or experiences that you have Hestia, please let us know. We'd be happy to share it. It's really warming us up. So,
yes.
Well, and we're all mirrors of each other. and our realities. So when you spend time working on what makes you happy and joyful, and the even like especially the hard work of it, when you're learning to set boundaries, when you're learning self-discipline, when you are clearing away what no longer serves you, that ends up reflecting into your loved ones as well. We can't save each other, but when we start to save ourselves, we help bridge healing for others just by example and by exposure.
That is very true. Yes. Wow. That, yeah. I had a really good conversation with a friend earlier today who told me that through me telling her about my experiences, she was able to pick herself back up and be like, no, Brenna did this. I can do it. And it made me feel really good. So that hit home, if you will.
Yeah, you will never know how many people look up to you, which is probably a good thing. But you will never. Hi, Izzy. Welcome. Here, let me make room for her on the camera. You will never know your impact, and it's really not for you to know. You just have to do your best and realize that your best counts and is a huge, important part of Goddess's influence on others, and love on yourself for when you do make those things. And when you think that it's not being seen, that it's not being appreciated, it absolutely is by Goddess alone. And then all of the eyes of Goddess, which is your loved ones, your friends, the community you don't even know, the strangers you will never meet, but somehow Goddess shares you with them. It's really powerful, and it's a sacred thing. Hi, Izzy. You look beautiful.
Hi.
Yay! Hi. So we have our lovely Isadora Laveau joining us. She is a votive of Hestia as well. I believe she held Hestia last year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So we are so happy to have you here, Izzy. Thank you for joining us. So we were just talking about, gosh, you know what? We went on a whole tangent. Let's just start on a whole new question.
First and last, I'm here.
Yay!
Will you tell me what first and last means?
All encompassing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're at the beginning, you're at the end, which means you're there the whole time. It's not a big deal because you take care of those in the in-between. You are a caretaker. You're a big sister. You're a caretaker as the beginning and the end. Not the beginning, but first and last.
Well,
sorry, I just got it.
That's okay. No. You're inspiring me.
Yeah.
So Hestia, for those that may or may not know, she's referred to as Hestia, the first and the last, the hearth goddess, because she was the firstborn of the Olympians, and when Kronos spat them all back out, thanks to Zeus, she was the last one out. So she, from the beginning to the end, was there to care for her siblings, and that is why we honor her at the beginning of our meal with the first bite and at the end of our meal with the last bite. You can also, when you wake up in the morning, honor her. When you're going to bed, honor her in the ways that you find calling to. And I like what you said, Izzy, about it. It's the encompassing. We are the first and last of our lives. When we come into the world, we are with ourselves. When we leave the world, we are with ourselves. In our homes, we are the first and last. And that's an empowerment. You have a choice of how your chapter begins and ends, and what you do in the middle is how you decide that, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
And
for
just because you're the first and just because you're the last doesn't make you the baby. Zeus is the baby, but not he's the youngest, but he's also, well, Zeus.
Before you were able to join us, Izzy, we were talking about how Hestia is a steady fire energy, that she takes steady care. She doesn't do big giant burnouts. She isn't a small, tiny flame that might go out. She is steady and constant. And we can learn a lot about that because I think she is like the heartbeat inside of us, that heart fire. Um, and I am just so honored to be in this temple with you, Izzy. Izzy is such a powerful priestess, and Hestia just radiates from her. For those that attended the mysteries last year, you know how impactful she was. Um, all of the priestesses in our temple are incredibly beautiful, uh, energetic, creative women. But I'm going to love on Izzy a little extra since she's here right now. But you should definitely listen to the wisdom that comes out of her because I always learn something new with her. And she's so sweet and so kind. Oh, I'm going to love on Izzy too much. It's going to come all out.
Hestia likes to love on her
Aw,
siblings, and Izzy is
she
Nim's
does.
magical sibling. So that
True.
that's normal.
Very much so.
So Izzy, we want to know, did you have any specific like foods that you loved to eat or make while you held Hestia last year?
Yes,
What was that?
all of it.
That was Nim's answer
Okay.
too.
Um, well, for me, it's not. For me, when carrying Hestia, it wasn't so much about what food was there as long as there was food and it was healthy and plentiful and that it came from an organized and clean kitchen. She is like, there's much more to a chef than you think. Chefs aren't, they don't just go in the kitchen and cook. No, chefs actually have a whole team of people. They have doing different parts and pieces. And if something is not clean in that kitchen, then that chef is not happy. So Hestia, as far as for me in the kitchen for Hestia, it was more of a she's the chef, she's the head, and and you can have an excellent, wonderful boss, or you can have a boss that you don't like, and well, you either choose to like it or you choose to not like it. And well, I kind of liked being able to get my stuff organized with her. She just makes everything feel so good in the kitchen. It doesn't matter what it is.
That Namir said something very similar. I asked her what her favorite food to make was, and she said anything I can share.
Uh-huh.
So
Anything
that
you can share,
that tracks.
anything that someone else is going to love and be nourished by. That's exactly how it feels. Yeah.
Yep, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I would say that Hestia cares more about the functionality of a kitchen so that it is comfortable for you to be in it. She does not care about the aesthetics of your kitchen. She does not have anxiety about what others will think about the kitchen or her cook. You know, she wants it to be functional to the point that it's joyful. And that's a much easier goal to attain.
Yes,
Organized and clean. Yep.
that makes sense.
There,
We have a question from the chat. What kind of herbs does Hestia like?
I'm thinking cinnamon. I was thinking that like 30 seconds ago too. I
Uh,
was about to say maybe add some cinnamon to things. Um,
what do you think, Namir? Do you have any
yeah.
other suggestions?
literally get up and go look in your kitchen at whatever herbs you have. It's the really accessible ones. It's the ones that, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
rosemary, the sage, the thyme, the cinnamon, the pepper, the any,
The
you know,
oregano.
the oregano, anything that's going to, you know, be easily added to your food. It is commonly known. You mean you can go to any grocery store. They're also very easy to grow. But Hestia wants you to be able to easily add that power into your food. So the easily
Yeah.
accessible herbs is what is coming to mind for her.
That's interesting that you said to add the power to your food. That's interesting. Can you do either of you want to like expand more upon how you could probably put more magic energy and power into your food?
Grow your own herbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Put your
growing your own
energy
food.
into them. And you know, basil's really good to have around. because when you're having a hard day and you don't want to hurt anybody else because you love everybody else, that basil loves it. That basil will take all the crap you give it and just transform it and re-nourish it, and you have big, beautiful basil. Um, but grow your own and put in your energy into it. Put in all that love and care and compassion, and just put it in there while you're growing it. And you know what? You can even do that to the herbs that you buy at the store or are gifted to you. You don't have to grow your own, but just put, when you're doing your cooking and when you're taking this herb and you're using this spice and you're working with them, know what you're adding it for
Yeah.
and put that energy into it. So that's
My
my,
our teacher
yes, Nim.
sorry, our teacher Bella talks about adding layers of magic to things. You know, you start very simply, and intention is the base of it. And of course, if you have rosemary and you can add that, then that's going to add some protection energy. If you've got basil, it's going to add the protection from the negative energy. As you like layer the joy of what you're doing, you can add in the knowledge of the magic you'll gain. Absolutely, growing your own food is a huge boost to your magic and the magic of the food you're putting in your body. And herbs are extremely accessible to grow. You can grow them in your kitchen. So, you know, we highly suggest starting, you know, that's a great place to start your gardening journey if you have not grown before. Herbs are always a great one to go to. But before you start cooking, center in yourself, breathe, and feel Goddess come in to cook with you. Set your intention for this food. This food is going to be nourishing. This food's going to make me feel whole. This food is going to be healing. This food is going to energize, and it's going to be bountiful. And you know, speaking those words into it, and when you're spending that time, whether it is just toast or if it's a full on super mushroom magic stew of healing, everything that you add, say, you know, mushrooms, I'm so grateful for your wisdom and healing. You know, please bless this soup with your love and energy, and mix that in. Just adding your intentional gratitude to things can amplify the magic. Food is emotionally porous. So when you are loving your food, when you are in a, you know, working your way into a good mood, when you are feeling the gratitude of having the resources you have, that like seeps into your food. So when you eat
It
it or
does.
your loved ones eat it, that magic of wholeness is just fills every pore of us. It's chef kiss, as it were.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's something that I definitely have learned from Hestia is to sit there and, you know, when you're making food, make it a magical thing to do. You know, that's something that all the deities have been teaching us from Spring Mysteries is that, you know, you can bring magic into your mundane life and in everything you do, and it will make your life magical. And so, you know, sitting there with the food and, you know, when I stir Diasil, I make sure I'm thinking of good, loving energy, and then I stir Widdershains, and I'm like, let's get out all of the bad energy in this food, and then let's bring in more good energy. And so that is very important to Hestia's Mysteries, is working with your food and doing it out of love and joy.
Absolutely.
No, that is
Very key.
so. What? Okay, wait. What question are we on? Here we go. How does Hestia communicate with you? So, you know, when you're working with her, how does she tell you the wisdoms? How do you hear her? Yeah.
Nim?
Well, for me, what I like about Hestia is that she cuts through my tendency for Pisces thought drama and gets to the what is the purpose of what we're doing? What is your goal? And like, let's just start getting to work. You know, I can spend a lot of time spitting out in my head, but Hestia is a practical goddess, and she is a to action goddess. I think her and Aries would get along great in that way. Like, they see the end goal and they just start working their way there, and they don't really care too much about the end result. They more focus on the present moment of it. So Hestia's great about bringing me into the present moment. She can be very grounding in that way too. And I have found her to be extremely helpful for building confidence, because Hestia knows that she's a powerful fire goddess. She knows that she's a sensual, beautiful, powerful, energetic spirit goddess, right? And having her just seep in just pushes away insecurities. It builds up that self-love, and she'd get along with Aphrodite in that way. She gets along with all the gods for all these various aspects, but I'm really enjoying that part of her for sure.
What about you, Izzy? How did she communicate with you? Or does still?
Does still. I'm not done with the house. And it's because of her. For me, yes. Hestia is very much very grounded, but she's also very fiery, of course. It's okay, you want to get this done? Wait a minute. You also need to plan this out and make sure that you're not skipping steps, because if you don't and you skip a step, you might screw something up. So there's also the planning aspect, which I see a lot with her and Hermes. When people bring them to their new home, it's a Hestia Hermes request for a blessing on the new home, and there's a reason for that, because you have to plan to build a good home, and if you don't have a good foundation, the home isn't going to last for too long.
Fascinating. I never thought about that.
So she also, for me, was okay, you got to plan this step and you got to take that step. Okay, now you don't know what next step to take. You need to figure that out before you go any further. Don't skip anything. That's, and for me, I found it a little frustrating because I used to.
You like to skip steps, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah, especially if I have to write it down. If I have to write it down, you might get 3 out of the 10 written from me, because it's difficult for me to write stuff down, and so it's also difficult for me to keep it in my head unless I can see a picture, and then it makes it more easier. So she also kind of helped me with that too. Okay, how do you want it to look when you're done? And so she was able to help me figure out how I can do my planning.
That is awesome.
Can I jump off of something you said, Izzy?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. You said about doing the next thing just doing onto the next thing. I had this moment a couple weeks ago. My husband and I were driving down the street, and I'm going to try not to sound contrite, so apologize. Oh, anyways, look, she's like, stop it, just talk. And there was a man who was homeless, and he was on the side of the road. He was laying under a cart, and it just hit my heart. And I could feel like this sorrow for humanity, that homelessness exists in the world that we have today. There's absolutely no reason for it. But I felt helpless, because yes, I could go get him a meal. Yes, I could try and support, but there's really nothing I could do for him specifically at that moment. I felt overwhelmed with grief, and I just didn't know what to do. I said, I don't know what to do. And we passed by this church that always has this like sign out front that they change every day with these funny sayings. I'm gonna start crying. And on it, it literally said, like within like a block, it said, when you don't know what to do the next right thing. And I knew that was Goddess talking. Because it was an instant. You ask a question, she answers, right?
Ooh, I got chills.
And then I said, okay, Goddess, what's the next right thing? There's not much I can do for that man. Okay, the next right thing that I can do is be grateful for what I have. I am grateful that I have a roof over my head. I am grateful that my family is not homeless. I'm grateful that I can help where I can with homelessness. and I will use that gratitude to do everything I can to protect that blessing. That's really the best thing I can do. It does not do anything for that poor man laying there in the street. But I think we all need to look around and find out what the next right thing is for our communities and do that. And it always starts with gratitude. So I think that does pull into the Hestia thing of you don't know what to do, be grateful for what you have. The next thing after that, share it. The next thing after that, we can get overwhelmed with the big picture. But I think Hestia brings us back to center and Goddess brings us back to center. We just keep swimming and we make intentful moves in our microcosm life, and it will ripple to the macro. Sorry. Thank you for letting me share that.
Make an Hestia altar. Shoot.
Well, and that's,
I have one in my kitchen still.
I do too. I have so many statues of her now throughout my whole house. I'm loving it. Well, and like that's the thing that Hestia is like constantly communicating in the back of my head is, have you set enough plates at the table for everybody in your community spiritually? Are you making sure that people know that they are welcome at your table? Are you making sure that they know that they're welcome to your abundance? We are each abundant in something in our life. And it is our sacred responsibility to share that and to think, automatically off the top of my head, I can name all of my immediate loved ones. Goddess wants us to take a step further and think about the people who don't have loved ones thinking about them and to do the next right thing to make it that much accessible that they have a loved one. And that's a huge part of the communication that Goddess is sending through. And thank you, Izzy, for reminding me about that.
Wow, that was powerful. Thank you, both of you, for sharing. Dang.
Okay. And donkeys are sweet.
Donkeys? Donkeys? What do donkeys have to do with Hestia, Izzy?
Donkeys are awesome. They are Hestia's protector and spirit animal? That's not the word.
They're sacred. It's her sacred.
Sacred animal. That's the one. They are very good at saying, danger, danger, Will Robinson, but not like a robot. They more or less bleed it in some way. And if that's not enough, they'll kick your socks off and make you listen because they're not about you being a dummy. And so there is a story about Hestia that I encourage everyone to go and investigate and do some research on donkeys and Hestia and why.
Can you give us a little sneak preview?
Well, let's just say she was not aware of someone trying to make advances on her until her protector showed up and said, hey. And then everything was okay after that because she got warned by her protecting donkey.
Oh, interesting.
It wasn't her donkey at the time, but after that, she pretty much claimed them.
Well, donkeys are super protective. They're great companions. They are often paired up with other farm animals, and they will tell you if danger is coming. They're very unassuming too. Like everybody's like, "Oh, a majestic horse. Oh, a majestic thing."
Yeah,
a donkey's never. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody be like, "Look at that majestic donkey." We should though.
I'm gonna say it next time I see one.
Absolutely.
That majestic
noble.
donkey.
Noble steed that is the donkey.
Yes, noble. They are very good protectors of other farm animals. They're people have them at their farms as guard donkeys for real. And
I had no idea.
It's actually more about keeping wolves away and other predatory like animals from getting to your livestock. So they come in and they protect the livestock just by being there and not being okay with predators being with the non-predators.
So you could
Fascinating. So
definitely
then,
add, oh, I'm so sorry. You could
no,
definitely add a figurine of a donkey to your Hestia altar, and it can add to the protection of your home, and it could protect your animals and your space. Donkeys are hard workers. I'm sharing some of the stuff in the chat. Someone mentioned that they can totally take out a wolf or a coyote.
Hmm.
Yeah, donkeys. Well, and like I just briefly want to jump off of this piece. So there's not a ton of myths and stories about Hestia because she's a very peaceful goddess, but I do encourage you to go look for them because they are very intense mysteries inside them, with the donkey, with the Dionysus, and all of these various things. She has a fascinating story about refusing to marry Poseidon and Apollo, and it's really interesting things. And you can learn more about that too through our temple. Where I think we still have a little bit of time, but I do want to talk about our temple today at some point before we end up. Before we
let's
wrap
see,
up.
are we ending at 10 till or 5 till, Namir?
5 till.
5 till. Okay, so we have a little bit more than 5 minutes. So
Last call for Hestia questions from the chat. And thank you everybody who's participated so far. It's been wonderful to share this time with you.
it's been so fun. So did you say we had more Hestia questions in the chat?
I just did a last call for them. Everybody's
Oh.
just really enjoying the conversation and adding in their
Oh.
own stories.
So then I would like for each of you to take a turn to describe Hestia in 3 words. Izzy, you go first.
Can I use 5 words?
Like you expect us to define goddess in just 5 words or less? Who do you think we are?
She
Hermes
said
is
3. I'm
Einstein?
trying to get her
Just
to
kidding.
amp it up to 5.
All right,
This
I'll give you
girl is
5.
on
You can have 5.
fire.
Hermes is better with the words.
You can have 5.
This girl is on fire.
I love that.
All right, Namir, what about you?
Hearth, heart, home.
Yes.
I don't know what else
truth.
I was expecting. Fair. And with that, Namir, if you would like to give a little spiel on the Temple of Hestia and what other things that they're up to these days, go for it.
I would love to. So the Temple of Hestia is a active working temple devoted to the goddess of the hearth and home. We are dedicated to supporting the Eleusinian mysteries every April, but we are constantly working throughout the whole year. And you are welcome and a part of that magic and those ministries and services. We are dedicated to ending world hunger, to bringing food in abundance to homes all over the world. We have a special connection with Pagans in Need, as well as the Southern Delta Church of Wicca and their food sharing that they've been doing. Both of those groups are actively on the ground putting food into the hands of people that need it most. Our temple supports that. We also have an active Patreon page that your support helps us bridge the gap in hunger, homelessness. Part of our funds that we raise for the temple goes to Pagans in Need and to other ventures ending the world hunger. We are also supporting the building of New Eleusis, where we will be a part of the physical temple that is built to the hearth goddess, as well as the temples to the other gods. And we have a wonderful community growing, and you are loved and wanted and desired there. And we will post all of the links, and you can find us on our ATC Wicca page under the Temple Priesthoods. You can learn more about us at springmysteries.com. And I think that's it. Like, we're very accessible, so we've lit the beacon. Just come towards the light, and we will keep you warm and fed and share all of our talents together.
Yes, and then obviously you can come see Namir holding our wonderful Hestia at actual festival mysteries this year. Registration is open. Tickets are $65. It's online, virtual, so come from the comfort of your home. We have a lot of really fun stuff planned this year. So
yeah, you get to attend from your temple that is your home. How exciting is that? I'm just
Hestia's dream.
I know. I'm going to show off this beautiful statue of Hestia. This will be in the silent auction at the Mysteries. It is a part of the Hestia altars I have working for her right now, but it definitely wants to come and live with one of you. So keep an eye out for that.
Yes, that is wonderful. Let's see. So for the last 4 or so minutes, Namir and Izzy, You've probably already said it, but what is one piece of wisdom that Hestia has given to you that you wish to share with everyone else? We'll start with Nimir, and then we'll go with Izzy.
Repeat the question.
What is one piece of wisdom that Hestia has given you that you wish to share with others?
You are a sacred home. Your body is a sacred home, and it deserves your love and your care, and you are good enough. Your temple is good enough, and it deserves that sacred worship every day.
Aw, thank you.
And the second note to the same thing is that your home is your sanctuary too. And you should probably honor and respect it as such. In all
Yeah.
those little things, keep your maintenance up, take care of the furniture, make sure things are working properly. It is your sanctuary. And if you are surrounded by brokenness, then you don't want that in your energy field. And you want to have your energy field be more whole and sacred for you to function in and for you to succeed and keep moving forward to the next step. So treat yourself, as Nim said, she's absolutely right. Treat yourself sacred and treat your home sacred.
A piece of Hestia that we didn't really highlight, but I'll take this quick moment to do it, is she is a peacemaker. She is a peacekeeper. So, the first key to being safe in your home is to invoke peace into your home. And that starts sometimes with having vulnerable conversations with the loved ones around you. So you can call in Hestia to create a peaceful conversation to build a peaceful foundation.
Very wise words, ladies. Thank you so much for being here today and for talking about your experiences. It has been so joyful to talk with both of you. Next up, we have Hermes. This will be a blast, clearly, so stick around, don't leave. We're going to be taking a quick little 5 minute intermission so that we can get all of our Hermes people on board and we can get started. So thank you all for coming. Again, please go ahead and look at all of the Hestia myths, come to Spring Mysteries, and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
May Hestia bless your hearth and your home, and may you take this time to go grab some water, some food, and something yummy, and may it nourish your body. So mote it be.
So mote it be. our Temple of Hermes. So, we have our Dusty Dion, the Archpriest of the Aquarian Tabernacle Church, and are you the votary of Hermes? Please remind me. I just no.
Can anyone really be the votary of Hermes?
Okay, fair. It's Kieran. Kieran. Then we have our Kieran, or French Wolfwood, is, I said it right, yes. He is our votary of the Temple of Hermes. Thank you for joining us. And then we also have our votives. So we have Dusty Dion. He was Hermes back in
2015?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't do years. I don't know. And we also have our lovely Alex Malinsky, who held Hermes years ago. And
2019, I was the last in-person Hermes.
there you go. And then we have Nicodemus Shadow Sky, who held Hermes 2 years ago, 2020, the first online year. And then we have our wonderful Jesse Sterland, who is holding Hermes this year and is our current vessel. Thank you, all of you, for joining me. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take questions from the audience. I have a couple of questions lined up, and we're going to, with as little chaos as possible, maybe talk with each other and have this open panel. I know I'm asking a lot. Anyway, so to kick us off, we're going to start with Kieran, since he is the votary. That's not my list of questions. There it is. Describe Hermes in 3 words.
Okay. I'm gonna say 3 words is hard, okay? I'm gonna say energetic, dedicated, and exciting, I think are gonna be my 3.
Does a
like
hyphenated word count as one word?
I'll allow it. Would
Well,
you like
then-
to go next, Dusty?
Yeah, then wouldn't it be fast, hip, in your face? I'm pretty sure that would be.
Yes, yes. That actually comes back to another question I have for you later. Nico, what 3 words would you use?
Dad jokes everywhere.
That was a good one. Alex, what about you?
Tricky, humorous, sly.
Hey. And of course, Jesse, what would you use?
I do agree with the tricky. He's fast and witty. We're really on those snappy comebacks.
Excellent. So, let's see. If someone were to come to the Temple of Hermes during the mysteries, or if they were to work with Hermes on their own, what kind of blessings would they benefit from asking for from Hermes? We'll switch it up, and I'll start with Dusty this time.
Okay. So when I travel, I give offerings to Hermes as I go across country. Anywhere where cars meet up, rest areas, gas stations, travel kiosks that give you information when you get to a new state. Those are all temples of Hermes. So, if you're traveling, if you have messages that you're trying to put out, but I have 4 other people on the panel that are going to have ideas too. So I'm going to stick with, when you're traveling, it's always a good idea to give offerings to Hermes as you go.
Indeed. Indeed. Let's see. Who else has a good answer? Or just an answer? Just a good answer. I feel like Kieran does.
So the blessing that I would personally recommend that people ask for is it's something not many people think of when they think of Hermes, but it's for help with setting and holding one's own boundaries.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Anyone-
Hermes doesn't push around well.
Yeah.
Like, he's fun and he's chill, but push a river where you want it to go. You know, he's going where he's going, and he'll be amiable while he's doing it. But if he feels like something is just against the grain, he's really hard to convince.
And y'all feel free to jump in. I'll try and moderate if y'all get too crazy, but
I was gonna say maybe that's why he and I get along so well.
because you don't like being told what to do.
No, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna do it. But yeah.
Yeah, my sibling has a really good one for that. You'll ask him to do something, and he will respond immediately doing that thing.
That sounds like Hermes.
Yeah, so that's an excellent.
God.
He'll still do the job. He might complain the whole time, but he'll still do the job.
Is this Marcus that we're speaking of? Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
One of the biggest gains I think that I took from him was wordplay. And whilst I will always be the one to bring up the jokes because that is all I had while I was Hermes, it definitely brought a layer of depth to how well I'm able to communicate in situations that require very careful choice of words. Because that's the thing, he is the silver tongue, and especially someone as someone who works in retail and who has people come in who are just angry to be angry because something else has set them off and I get to be the target. How I choose to diffuse and, return that conversation to being a conversation and not a shouting match or an argument was something that I found invaluable from the experience. But that's definitely something that if you find yourselves in situations where you need that, or if it's just a skill that you wish to work on, it's definitely something that you could ask him for help with.
Actually, I have a really excellent tie-in with that, with my year's experience. I had literally just started working as an apprentice locksmith the year that I held Aries. Like, I literally almost got fired trying to take the time off to come to festival. But I wasn't gonna miss it for the world. So I was like 4 months on the job at that point. So those first 4 months where I was working really heavily with Hermes, that was my first retail job. Still is. I'm still working there. And he helped a lot with that. But also just like, turns out locksmiths, that tracks. It works. It's been very helpful having had that experience right away at the beginning of both my career and it tracked. And thing I was going to say in relation to what Nico had to say is that when people come into a lock shop, they're often already having one of the worst days they will have in a year because they have locked themselves out. They have left their car running to come run over. They've called us in a panic. So they're already having one of the worst days possible that you can have as a human being. You've locked yourself out of your life. You've literally done the one thing that nobody wants to do. So dealing with those people took an insane amount of tact right from minute one. Like, it wasn't that, you couldn't help them and then they got angry. They were already upset.
That is awesome. I'm so glad that Hermes helped with that. I pray to Hermes for that stuff all the time. Holy moly. So, let's see. What kind of activities could you possibly do or I guess activities is the right word. How can you worship Hermes? Like, what can you do to worship Hermes? What can people do at home to worship Hermes? I'm gonna let anyone
Words with
Go
if
ahead,
anyone
Nico.
knows the app, if anyone knows the app Words with Friends, that was an addiction for about 6 months.
Mine is literally any puzzle game.
Yeah.
Like
I was about to jump in and say literally anything. Legitimately any single thing.
doing something is a lot of it, but if someone wanted something specific they could do at home to worship Hermes, I if you have a vehicle, dedicate some small space in that vehicle to him. Like I have a little space in my center console that's effectively an altar to him, but has ended up just being where all my unwanted containers of barbecue sauce go, because apparently that's what he wants as an offering. I don't know.
Unconscious offerings of barbecue sauce.
Funny looking bird.
So when I have a tie-in with what Wolfwood said about the car. I like to, when I'm driving, we all have a crossroads somewhere near our house that is notorious for being more dangerous than other stoplights and stuff like that we have to go past. And so what I do is I dedicate that space to Hermes. And when I go by, I charge it and ask him to keep it safe. And in fact, when I held Hermes, the people that came to my temple to ask for a dedication, that's what I had them do. And I even encouraged them, if possible, to like go set up a little altar to him at the crossroads. And because the one that we had by our house, I was able to just go walk over and make a little thing next to the stop sign because we were in the country, so I did. And no one else knew it was there, but I knew it was there, and I maintained it, and I sent energy to it. And since we're always traveling and we're always driving around, I just found that was a way to really stay connected in the day-to-day.
That's awesome. What kind of things would you before I ask this question, please remember that y'all can totally ask questions in the comments wherever you're watching from. We'll see them. I'll get them. So ask your questions. We want to answer what you have. Remember, we're working with Hermes as their priests here. I believe we're all priests. Not me, obviously, but whatever.
Where is Amelia? Where is Amelia?
Somebody to call her.
Running
Amelia's in the temple.
You think you can
I can
Hermes?
I can attempt to get a hold of them, but they may very well be asleep.
Well, I just, one of the best things about the Temple of Hermes is it's so much more gender fluid than the other temples are. And that's kind of one of the really cool things about it.
That is, yes, absolutely. So the question I was going to ask is, what kinds of things would you put on your altar for Hermes? Or have you put on your altar for Hermes? Kieran?
Besides the containers of barbecue sauce, God dang it. Sorry, come back to me in a second.
No worries. Let's see. Alex, what do you put on your altar for Hermes?
As a locksmith, one of the things that we get through our shop a lot is miscut keys, and not just like the proper blank that has been cut improperly to work in a lock, but from the factory it's wrong. It literally won't even fit in the lock that it's supposed to fit in, and they don't make a lock that this key fits in because it's been milled incorrectly. So I get key blanks a lot, and especially the Hecate's they call them skeleton keys or church keys. That one's a really common one for Hermes as well for me. And then silver coins.
Awesome. Dusty?
Yeah, I listening to what Alex said about the miscut keys. I like to keep found, beat up money that's been run over, that's been discarded, and I don't spend it because I see it as building a relationship with saving money that is been discarded and showing respect to money, because the money that I find is like, nobody loves me. I'm like, I love you, bonk. And I put those on my Hermes altar, which also lives with the sauces in the center console of my car. I have a specific little place where I keep that money at. And then when we do the chant, ching, ching, ching goes the money tree. I don't know if y'all know that particular chant. I pick up those coins and shake them while I'm doing the chant. So, but also if you can find, there's a guy named Henry not Cavill, because that's
Caldwell.
the actor. Caldwell
Caldwell.
that does carving into coins. And I have a couple of his coins that are on my Mercury altar, Mercury headed dimes. In fact, I have one of his that is carved onto a Mercury headed dime. So that is like one of my, I found it when we were traveling across country too, because we were going to PantheaCon, and I follow him on Instagram, and we were following him literally like 150 miles behind him, and he was putting out coins as he went with clues to where they were, and I found two of them. So one of them was the Mercury headed dime. So yeah.
Go ahead, Nico. I have something to relate to that finding of money.
So the year that I held Hermes was the one that got shifted to online. And so the majority of what is on my Hermes altar is a pile of faux Mercury dimes that I was going to hand out as tokens. And so now whatever I do is, if I'm traveling, I throw one of the dimes in my bag. If I'm heading around with people and I know they're going to be traveling, I just grab a bunch. Things like that. The other thing that I have that I really love is, you talked about Hermes being very gender fluid. He's also very much, or at least a lot of people that I know see him as like a patriarch to the LGBTQ. And so I had a very dear friend of mine get me a Lego set that has the spread of faceless characters in all of the different colors. And it's supposed to be an LGBTQ Lego piece that I have as a centerpiece.
Very nice. Alex?
Gotta unmute in more than one place here. My thing about finding money is that whenever my family finds money on the road, we have a little chant that we say that goes with it, and it's that I am a money magnet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then you either kiss the coin, or if you're not comfortable with it, because you usually find them on greasy roads, kiss the back of your thumb. Just so that you can get that energy out there. And I realize that as we're talking, I have a tube of 1 ounce silver coins on my desk, literally right now.
We just got a thing in the chat that says, drinking game, take a shot when a vessel of Hermes says literally. I don't advise playing that drinking game.
No, literally do that. That will literally get you so literally drunk. Literally.
It's literally a thing.
True.
Don't tell us about that, because we will literally go out of our way to literally make you drunk.
Literally.
Well, you can...
That sounds like a good game.
Literally respectful.
I mean, I guess if you want to meet him prematurely, you can do that. But I really wouldn't recommend it.
One of the things that I have on my car is I literally have a Hermes, like a magnetized Hermes on the hood of my car, right on the front, Yes, worship responsibly. Literally, take care of yourself. And then I've also got a lot of feathers on my altar. Just in my I haven't been working with Hermes for very long, but it's either I make all of the traffic lights when I'm driving and my commute is amazing, or I miss absolutely everything on the way. And there's no in between. There's no in between. Either Hermes is having a good day or he's literally like, nah, I'm gonna make it interesting for you. And you miss every single light.
So every time that I get caught up or turned around or misdirected, I assume Hermes is making me miss getting T-boned at the place that I thought I was supposed to be at.
So
Literally
sorry,
the other
I just saw Nico.
Literally the other day, we were driving, that happened, and I had to take this weird turn. And when I got back to where we were supposed to be at, there was a horrible wreck and already a fire truck there. And I was like, okay, I was kind of getting down on myself because I made a bonehead turn. But yeah.
I saw Nico, and we actually have the same Hermes statue.
Ooh.
Sorry, I
Same
just saw
here.
it on it.
I was gonna say that looks very
Same here.
much like the one on Jesse's hood of his car too.
Pretty sure we
It's a
got one.
good statue.
Also, yeah.
It's a really good statue of him.
Well, there's that one, and then if you look in my windowsill over here, there's another one that's currently on loan to me. Disregard all the water bottles. And the caduceus for that one is being held by this one because I like this caduceus.
Well, and we have that same symbol on for those that have not been to Spring Mysteries in person. When you come, most years you get a sticker for your car that you find underneath your windshield wiper that says "This car protected by Hermes."
Got
and
one of those
it's
too.
got that, and it kind of looks like you might have a security system in your car that you've got a sticker for. But yeah, they're awesome.
Yes.
Same symbol.
I was supposed to turn my camera off for that. I'm sorry. Flailing around like a banshee. This one.
What is Nico showing us? There we go. Yeah, there's the sticker.
That's the one.
I mean, at least it didn't show us anything inappropriate.
It's just
I
my
was just
sock.
gonna ask him. Kieran, did you want to talk about what you put on your altar for Hermes?
Yeah, so other than barbecue sauce, the most common things that I'd end up putting on his altar, besides like the obvious having a statue and stuff like that, would end up being just random shiny things that I would find around that I'd be like, ooh, I like this. I'm going to give this to Hermes. And it was the weirdest stuff. It would be actually the most common thing was bottle caps, which got really funny because at one point while I was Hermes, my mom was going through my old room back at my parents' house and found this entire like little box full of bottle caps and was like, "Do you need this for anything?" And I was like, "Yes, give it to me. I need all of the bottle caps."
That face when you realize Hermes is gearing up for Fallout.
That's a great segue, because there was a question that came in that says, how can Hermes help us adapt in the pandemic? So he protects the traveler, right? But that means that the traveler has to learn how to do the things they need to do to be protected. You can't just, in this day and age with what's going on, just go, I just drove across the country. There are pockets of places where COVID's getting under control. There are much larger portions where it's not yet. So you just have to protect yourself. We've known for hundreds of years that washing your hands, not cross-contaminating fluids, and covering your mouth when you cough, so that's why you wear a mask, so you don't have to remember, will keep you safe while you're out. And none of us want to take these precautions, but I don't want to wear my seatbelt, and I don't want to shovel my sidewalk, and I don't want to cover my mouth when I sneeze, but I know that it will keep me and others safe while I travel.
You don't have to. You get to.
That's the one. You get to. That's awesome.
Well,
Death
and
or death.
travel and communication are kind of blending right now because like we could have all traveled to the same place to do this, but we can just from wherever we're at, we can all get together and do this from the US, Canada, whoever else is wherever you are chiming in from.
Point of order on that topic, I would have needed to have been made aware of that on February 3rd, as there is still a 2-week quarantine crossing the border. And I found out today at 6:55.
But we told you.
And you're here, and we love it.
Well,
Yeah,
done.
I have an hour commute every day where I go through a communication dead zone. There isn't even cell service. Hour long section between work and home. Like I leave work and 5 minutes later I am incommunicado until I am home.
Mhm.
That
So
sounds good.
I assume the message came in sometime in there, but I have no idea when.
Well, just shows your wonderful Hermes prowess that you showed up right on time, ready to go. Look at you.
It's about getting the message delivered, not necessarily when.
But Hermes is the one that talks to Hephaestus and is like, okay, so we're gonna need like crazy respirator masks because the nuclear bomb has gone off, and goggles. Goggles. People are gonna have to leave their house, Hephaestus. So we need some like suits that people can wear. So I kind of see all PPE that lets you be out in the world as sacred to Hermes because it's letting you be out in the world in otherwise hazardous conditions.
I just started a welding welding schooling, and yeah, you got to fully deck yourself out in some. It's kind of fun to wear, but it's some really good PPEs for the massive amounts of electricity that you get to deal in order to melt that metal. So yeah, I can
Yeah.
totally see that in the PPE there for sure.
It'll give you a sunburn.
Or death. All right, y'all. Here's my next question for you that we have from the humans in the chats. Where'd it go? How can you work with Hermes during Mercury retrograde?
You don't.
Jesse?
I
Carefully.
couldn't help myself. Someone else.
Carefully. Trademarked, copywritten, carefully.
He's commuting.
You
He's
moan.
commuting from that area in his work where there's zero service, and so he's gonna get your message when he gets back into cell service.
It's Alex. It's Alex.
Yeah.
So
I was saying you moonwalk. That's how you communicate with him.
Yeah. Like you can work with him during Mercury retrograde, but none of what you get is going to be what you were trying to get. Like you'll get some.
It's kind of it's the concept of the broken wishing genie box.
It's like when you order something off Wish and it shows up completely different. Like,
In the interest of
I ordered
in the
a
interest-
bed frame online and got a shower curtain. I wish I had it because it's the ugliest shower curtain on the face of the planet, and I loved it.
well, and I say, I make the joke of carefully, but really it's taking an extra look at the things you say, the intent that you mean. Like a lot of stuff goes wibbly wobbly, and you do your best to make sure that you're not fueling the fire, you're tempering it. To touch a little stuff.
You gotta be really specific in what you're asking for. I mean, really specific. It's like you know how it's like make a wish with a genie, and the genie's like, oh, okay, how can I loophole this? It's like you gotta counter the loopholes because he can't. He's in retrograde.
Alex,
Right,
you got something to add?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. In the interest of a very serious piece of advice, the one that I have found most useful is don't try and start new stuff. That's the big one with Mercury retrograde. When you start new things, they're going to go weird. Mercury retrograde doesn't like new stuff. You need to focus on maintenance. Maintain all the things that are currently going on in your life and make sure that they're up to snuff. So that way, when you hit the end of Mercury retrograde, you are on the ground, ready to go running.
Good piece of advice there. Dusty? Oh, you muted yourself.
Ha! Yeah, I really like what Alex just said. It goes along with what I wanted to say, which is I use Mercury retrograde and Hermes to find lost things. I don't use it for new things. It's a window where the things that you have lost in the past find their way back to you. And so if you just tell Mercury, you tell Hermes, help me find that which I have lost that I now need, he'll be like, oh, this thing? Almost always.
Awesome. Yanico?
At least in the last couple of years, since I held the role, I guess, it ends up being almost like a pop quiz to me. Like, I'll go a set amount of time, like either gaining a new skill or working on a new skill or being told that I know what I'm doing, patent pending. But when retrograde hits, something, whether it's several things or just one thing or whatever, something will come up where a skill that I either know I have or have been told I have that I do really well becomes a very vital part of solving a problem or finding a solution. And it's basically Hermes being like, pop quiz.
Absolutely. And that's the astrology view of it too, is that it is when lessons you've already learned come back around to make sure you actually did learn it, and now you can put it into practice. Good luck.
Wow. That makes me really sad about my work, because that's like, well, you learned how to do this one thing on this weird old lock, so you better know how to, take it all the way apart, diagnose a tiny little problem, which happens to be like a burned out solenoid or a cracked connector, and now put it all the way back together when you have fixed one exterior part of it. And that's the daily.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of resourcefulness that I'm finding too. Like when we had our last snow, I don't remember what my reasoning was. I'm sure there was a reason that I needed to get out of the house and go somewhere. But we're on one of those like end streets that doesn't get plowed. The plowed road starts 90 feet up the road, so I got to put on my snow chains, and that let me get out and about and do whatever I needed to do. So it's a bit of resourcefulness in like I've had those snow chains for 6 or 7 years, never had to use them. But yeah, like you have this thing that you've been saving. Little shout out back to that skill that you didn't know you had. There's also like physical tools that you have but you've never used that kind of get highlighted when you're working with Hermes.
How interesting. Neat. Thank you, guys. All right. What was the next question? Where do we find Hermes in our modern day-to-day besides travel?
Internet.
Internet?
Me.
Internet.
So much internet. but also pretty much any way that you communicate with someone else. So, like phones, internet, computers, mail.
Absolutely. Alex?
This is an important one. On the inside of a till. Anywhere you do transactions with money.
In a till.
He's there.
Yeah. Nico?
In the single piece of humor that you come up with to tell somebody that pulls them just enough out of the hole that they can climb out themselves. One of the biggest things that I made it a point of when I held Hermes, because we had just entered the pandemic, was to try and be as lighthearted and funny and witty as I could be around people, because people needed to laugh. People needed a reason to smile when they couldn't find a reason to smile themselves. So it's in that very specific and I can't think of the word now, ironically, but it's in that very specific humor that is meant to be that hand when someone's in that hole, to pull them out enough that they can keep pulling themselves out themselves.
Oh, that's sweet. I love that. Alex?
I think for that very reason, my coworkers are getting sick of my jokes.
Good, good.
I think that's the psychopomp energy, though. You know,
Word.
helping people through difficult times, helping them get over
Yeah.
to the other side of it.
You're the
Absolutely.
comic relief but you're still useful to the overall scheme.
Well, it's the focus on the relief of it, though. It's giving people that moment where they can let out the steam and let out the pressure, so that they can look around and be like, okay, I've got this.
Y'all,
That's
y'all
awesome.
know Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sokka. It's just Sokka.
Yes. Okay,
Not
yeah.
that
Like-
Hermes. That is no canon.
Useful to the scheme, yet hilarious and makes you laugh.
Learning.
Space.
Oh,
Secret
My last
tunnel.
moon. Hell yeah.
Boomy.
The marble trick.
The marble
Okay,
trick.
so
No,
Dusty, will you tell us, or tell those who might not know, what a psychopomp is?
Oh yeah, sure. Psychopomp is the word for the god that helps you across to the underworld. So Hermes is a psychopomp. Anubis is a psychopomp.
Valkyries?
Actually,
Yeah.
the perfect definition of it we have from Greek is literally just walker between the worlds. So it's any
Okay.
deity that can go between heaven and earth and the underworld. Anyone that can do that transition, because it's actually really difficult for most of them. They have a domain and they have to stay in that domain. So, you know, you don't hear too many stories about Poseidon going down to the underworld, because that don't make no sense. There's no water down there necessarily that's his.
No, it's all
But
fresh water.
Hades, right? Or made of lava, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas Hades, he wanders around between, you know, the worlds in all the stories like it's nothing. So he's also technically a psychopomp.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so that's one of Hermes' big jobs, is taking the souls to the underworld. And on that note, do you all have any myths of Hermes that stand out to you, that you really resonated with? Looks like Kieran's very excited.
And I know why Nico's laughing. Because I'm pretty sure everyone who was involved knows what mine is, but mine is definitely the myth of Hermes stealing Apollo's cattle.
Yes.
And all the shenanigans that that whole myth led to. But the weirdest thing was, even before the shenanigans happened, that was like, for some reason, the one that really, oh god dang it, I'll be back.
No worries. Kieran's multitasking per usual, Hermes. Alex?
Yeah, the one that really stands out to me now, I mean, I don't remember what necessarily stood out to me at the time when I held him, but the one that stands out to me now, especially having our conversation about him being a big LGBTQ symbol, is the myth of Hermaphrodite, who is supposedly the world's first hermaphrodite and was created when the energy of Hermes met the energy of Aphrodite. And if you want to read the full myth, I encourage you to go find it. I don't want to tell it here, but it's a really powerful, really influential myth that I think matters a lot, both not only to our modern day, but also just to the way that you need to view the Greeks. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Dusty, what's your myth?
So my favorite myth is the one about, but now that Kieran's back, let's let Kieran finish his, because you never know if he's going to get another phone call. So,
That's fair.
and then I'll go.
Okay.
So interestingly enough, even before the shenanigans happened, that was the one that had really stuck out to me. And I think one of the reasons why is it was one of the ones that really showed his personality for me, because in at least most of the retellings of the myth that I had read or heard, he was a baby when this happened. Like, he was this itty bitty baby that woke up one day and was like, you know what? I choose violence. And just stole all of Apollo's cattle. For what? Why? But that was really the one that stuck out to me.
I think that
Thank
the
you.
important ending of that myth is that he swore off theft after that. He is still the god of thieves, yet he will not steal, because at the end of that myth, he has forced to swear off stealing.
That explains so much, because I kept having jokes made about me about how I kept getting my wallet pickpocketed by one of my partners and could never pickpocket it back.
Oh, okay. Dusty?
So my favorite myth is about when Hermes turned into a goat and had sex with Penelope. And then she had a baby that had goat legs. And he picked that baby up and it was cast off. And he took that baby and he went, no, this is the best looking baby in the world. And he brought that baby up to Olympus and he was like, look at this baby. And everyone was like, I love that baby. I literally love this baby. And so they all loved the baby so much that they named him Pan, because Pan means all. And Hermes is a good dad. Like, when you read the myths, not all of the parents are very good. Not all the gods are very good parents. Hermes doesn't have a bunch of myths where he's a dick to his offspring. He is very proud of his kids, and he doesn't work against them. So, yeah.
The only other one that I'm aware of is actually Aries. They're the only two that I'm aware of that don't have a myth about them being a dick to their kids.
We have someone saying #dad goals. I love it.
I love that it says that I love the vessels of Hermes all started giggling when asked about their favorite Hermes story. Hermes is fun. Hermes is so much fun. When I held Hermes, I got charged with going down the mountain and buying wine for the for the initiations. So I go down to my favorite liquor store, and I'm wearing Hermes's traveling hat as I'm driving the car down to the liquor store. I get to the liquor store, the guy's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm doing good. We're having these initiations for our church." And I'm wearing the hat. And he's like, "Really? Look in that cabinet down there." And there's like a tap area with a cabinet underneath. And I open it, and there's like 20 bottles of wine that are all tester bottles for people to try. He went, "You just take all that." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I've needed to clear it out and put new wine in it anyway. So you just take all that." And I didn't even buy wine. I didn't buy one bottle while I was there. He was just like, "Have a good day."
Point in case Hermes doesn't steal, it gets given to him. That looks like Alex had another good story that he was reminded of.
Yeah, actually, almost that exact thing happened to me. When I was holding Hermes, I had to fill up on gas, and at the time, my family had a 7-passenger van, and if you don't know what that is, it's a gas guzzler. So I had very little money left. I had to go get gas, and I put $15 worth of gas in because it was enough to get me where I was going. And literally, the second the pump hit $15, it glitched. And their computer system reset itself as it was happening. And so I got $75 worth of gasoline for $15.
Hot day.
I spent the rest of that day high as hell on like victory.
And that's Canadian money, mind you.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, so the way we do gasoline up here is by the liter, and there are 4 liters in a gallon. And at the moment, as of today, it's $1.74 Canadian a gallon. And I did the conversion, and in Washington State, it's $1.74 a liter. And I did the conversion. Washington State is currently $1.20 a liter Canadian. So we're 50 cents a liter higher on average at the moment.
Good
That's
God,
$2 a gallon.
$1.74 a gallon in anywhere, because I'm about to be there.
No.
Nico, did you have a story you wanted to share?
Oh, just in response to the enjoyment of the giggling, I just wanted Kieran to know I still have that wanted poster. The myth of stealing the cow is very sacred to us, especially from that year. What's that, Kieran? Oh, we got it. Damn.
Hermes is calling him nonstop. Hermes is keeping him busy.
Mm-hmm.
We're grateful to hear it all.
There was something. So it isn't a myth. It's more of the kind of, because we were talking about the thieves and the no thieving. It was very interesting for me because I worked at the time. I was at customer service, and I saw a lot of people walk into the store that I work in, and for the entire year that I held Hermes, I took one look at someone, and I knew right off the bat they're going to try and steal a tool. They're going to try and steal this. And it was just, and the only reason I knew is because I got fervently angry. Because the lesson that I went through was there's thieving for like the funny of it. Like, I got your cows. And then there's just blatant, I'm going to walk into the store, I'm going to cut this tag, and I'm going to walk out because I know there's nothing you can do about it. And that was his choice of, that was his wake up, and I choose violence. Thankfully we have the store that I worked in had a system for loss prevention, and every time that happened I was just like, hey, watch this guy. 9 times out of 10 they walk out empty handed, or there's people behind them.
Wow.
It was very interesting because like it's kind of like with a lot of the gods that I've held. It's I assume or I expect to work with a particular aspect, and even if I do work with that aspect, there's always some subsection that I'm like, I never thought of that. I never really thought about working with the god of thieves side of Hermes until I got into it. And that's one of the reasons I love doing these roles is I learn things I'd never expect to learn.
Oh, I love that. So we have
think that
5 minutes left. So I would like to ask each one of you, what is one piece of wisdom that you received from Hermes that you would like to share with everyone? We'll start with Kieran.
One piece of wisdom that I learned from Hermes that I really feel needs to be shared is in regards to him being a god of boundaries, where it's keeping your boundaries and saying no is self-care. It doesn't matter how the other person or other being feels. In that moment, you are caring for yourself.
Very important. Thank you, Kieran. Let's see. Let's do Dusty.
So I don't. A piece of wisdom. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to go with a movie quote, and it's from the movie Big Trouble in Little China, when Jack Burton says, "And like I told my ex-wife, don't worry, honey, I only drive. I never drive faster than I can see. Anyway, it's all in the reflexes."
Never drive faster than you can see. You know, I've also heard never drive faster than your guardian angel can fly. Does that count too? Yeah.
Bro, if you can drive faster than Hermes can fly, we got problems.
True.
Yeah, how's the speed of light feel? Humanity needs to know that trick.
Alex, do you want to share your piece of wisdom?
Yeah. So the big thing that I learned was that I worked a lot with the locks side of it, and in the year that I held him, one of the hardest lessons that a lot of people learned around me is keep an extra set of keys. Like, don't wait for your last set of car keys especially. Car keys are the really difficult one. Like, I can get into your house and make you an extra set of your keys if you need that done. That's not that difficult. But if you lose your last, like, 2008 Ford Explorer or whatever key, that sucker's got a chip in it, and it's going to cost you like $3,000 to get that done. Like, I'm not even joking. That's how expensive it is sometimes. It's so expensive.
Yeah, well, it might be expensive, you think, to buy the chip key up front. It's way more expensive to lose them all completely.
Find a locksmith. They'll usually be able to do it for like $100.
Yep. Let's see. I keep wanting to say summoner because that's your name on here. Nico.
I answer to many things, not Tim, but many things. The lesson the biggest lesson I think I learned from Hermes is a lesson I learned 2 or 3 years prior, but I never realized how important it was until I held Hermes. And it's whenever you find yourself in a situation where words like impossible, can't, won't are flying through your head, and it just seems like this thing that you don't know the answer, you don't know how to deal with it, you don't think you can deal with it. One of the best bits of advice I've ever had for something like that was to take as much power and energy as you have and put it into taking a single second before all of the chaos overflows upon you and just looking at the situation and asking yourself, why am I choosing to react this way? And the reason, what that does for me is it opens a dialogue between logic self and emotion self I'm a very headspace visual learner, and so it's always worked for me that way. However it works for you, it works, but it causes the logical side of me and the emotional side of me to have a conversation, and it's usually an argument because emotion doesn't have any logic to it, and so it's just I don't know. But it gives logic a chance to give its side, and even if that doesn't bring about anything, in that 1 second that you've had that conversation, you've had a second of pause, you've had a second of quiet, and suddenly everything that was so overwhelming is no longer overwhelming. You're not up to your nose underwater, you're down to your chest, and you can breathe, and you have more of a chance to process it with mind, emotion, all of that. And so that was something that I used daily, if not multiple times a day when I was Hermes, because on top of the things I was doing for work, it was people were going nuts because of the pandemic. People were panicking. People were emotional. And it was just every situation I had, it was like, put myself in the shoes, take that second, process it, go. And it makes a lot of things a lot less difficult.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Nico. And of course, our current vessel, Jesse.
So a lot of what I'm getting this time around is, as much as Hermes is the god of communication and all that, is kind of the concept of just because someone else opens their mouth doesn't mean that you have to. You always have, like, especially if you're right on the precipice of a big conversation or a big something that just is not going to go anywhere, that someone wants to strike up a conversation or an argument just for the sake of riling other people up, you have the option to not. Just you don't have to. You can, sure, but just you always have that option to opt out.
Interesting.
Which is interesting for me to learn. And is interesting for me to try and pass on to those around me. Because for myself and many of the people around me, that's never been an option. Just someone's talking to you. You have to talk to them back. Well, no, you don't.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Particularly in our new digital age.
Particularly,
it makes it so much easier to
it
ignore someone.
Well, and it makes it so much harder to resist too.
Yeah.
So you've got both halves there coming at you at the same time, and you got to pick one.
Well, and that's one of the things with tact and wordplay is sometimes one of the greatest skills in knowing when to speak is knowing when any input you give is not going to be productive, and so you just have to let other people work it through.
Yes. The mantra that my teachers gave me was speak little, listen much. It'll get you far. And Hermes does like to talk a lot, but clearly he knows when to not talk too. That's a really interesting lesson that I would not have gotten to know had we not done this. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Alex, Kieran, Nico, Dusty, and Jesse, for being here to talk about Hermes and your experiences. You can come find Hermes at Spring Mysteries this year. Registration is open. And let's see, what else am I supposed to say, Namir? Next week we have Zeus and Hera. Woo! So make sure you come see all our Zeusies and all our Heras, all of the votives, vessels, votaries, and we will have a blast. So if you want to find any more information on the Temple of Hermes, you can find us on Facebook at atcivica.org, springmysteries.com. Am I missing anything, Namir? Yep. Did I think you just said that. Anyway, so thank you all for being here tonight. And thank you all, the audience, for coming and watching and giving us your questions. This was super fun. So we will see you same bat time, same bat channel with Zeus and Hera next week.